Less than 30 seconds now in regulation. Could this take extra time? 16 seconds. Here's Dial. Send it up at the point, Jay Lalu. Call Midget now, but Matt, 6 seconds, 5, Dalfan coming out. He gets around in 2 seconds. He's got to do it quick. Shoot, the scores, 1 second left.
Here we go. I'm back with Tony and our special guest for this evening, Goose. Hello, Goose.
Hello.
How are you?
Very special.
Hello.
He is very special. Steal of the draft that one time.
Once.
Yep. Even though I don't think I had it on my list, much to the chagrin of
You did
Goose.
not? You did not?
Yep. So you can give me shit for that all you want, but
This is your time to do it.
yeah,
I
this
will
is your
try.
chance. This is your chance. So
If given the opportunity, I will
we'll
do it.
let you have some closing thoughts at the end, and you can say whatever you want. You bring up Team USA, Washington over Chicago, and whatever you want to hold over my head is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, all right. So we're here with a slightly different plan than what we did with Cap last time. So for those who listened to our episode with Cap, we chatted about some of the difficulties regarding being BOC, some of the difficult decisions we had to make, things of that nature. But this time around, we're getting back into the interview side of things, starting off with Goose tonight. So, Goose, you never made it to an interview with either Kiwi or I originally.
No, y'all always try to keep the brown man down, and
No,
That was
okay
the
now.
hashtag.
Okay.
I,
Look,
I've always been available. I'm always here. I don't do anything.
we're
This is my
trying
life.
to we're trying to add some ethnic diversity to the
Oh,
face-off.
Jesus.
I appreciate it. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Look, we're trying to add some to season 20 as well. So,
You get a broader audience.
yep.
Yeah, I'd
Yep.
like Goose to be able to actually make games in season 20.
Yep.
That's the closing question.
Also,
we'll save that for
Mr.
the
TB,
end.
if you hear this, please sign up. He won't hear this.
May he
That's
rest in
okay.
peace.
Yeah, he's probably dead
Yeah, I don't think
somewhere.
he's been on Steam in like 6 months.
That's all right. Maybe Black Stamkos will sign up.
Kanye West? If he knew about it, maybe he
Yeah.
played till the end.
Yeah, he did. He was around for a
Speaking
while.
of playing in season 1 all the way till the end.
Goose. So, per usual with these, as we used to do, like fucking 3 years ago, the last time I did one of these, maybe 2 years ago, we'll walk through a bit of sort of career highlights, achievements, stuff like that for you, Goose, so that you get to sit back and enjoy some compliments about yourself, and everybody gets a better sense of who you are and what you were able to achieve during your playing career. So, you were actually one of the first North American people to play the game, long before season one of the LHL even started. So you were around for HQML season one, right? Way back in the day.
Yes, I was.
You're also one of like 3 or 4 people to ever make a position change and be able to start in the LHL. And you're one of even a shorter list of people to play and start LHL games and perform well in all 3 positions: offense, defense, and goalie. You won a cup in each of the final 3 LHL seasons. There's a little fun fact about yourself. You know when you get those like awkward, tell us 3 fun facts about you and like an introductory bullshit thing, those things, right? That's a perfect fun fact for you. Everybody will appreciate what it means. You were 15th in 4v4 career points, 20th in goals, and 11th in assists. You were 5th in 5v5 career save percentage and 4th in goals against average. In the playoffs, you were 6th in save percentage, 4th in goals against average. And then looking at your combined career save percentage, so adding in the 4v4 stats when you played a little bit of goalie back in the day, in total, you're 8th there in save percent and 5th in goals against average. Breaking down those stats a little bit more into the actual numbers, you had 108 points and you were negative 29, sorry to say, Goose, in 87 games played as a skater. That was all 4v4. That breakdown's 49 goals, 59 assists, and a respectable 1.24 points per game. Not bad.
Tried.
Not And then as a goalie in 5v5, looking just there, you had a 60.99 save percentage, a 2.80 goals against average in 107 games played at goalie. So you actually, over your career, had a pretty even split almost between goalie and skater, obviously favoring goalie in more recent seasons. But you shook your hand at GMing twice for a total of 51 regular season games, one considerably more successful than the other. Overall, your total record was 18, 5, 3, and 25, which is wins, losses, or OT losses, and regulation losses, for a total of a 45.1% win rate. You jammed for 9 postseason games in which you went 7, 1, 0, and 1, which is an 88.89% win rate,
I'm good.
dominating the playoffs that one season,
I am good.
much to my disappointment. That was the only time you made the postseason as a GM, but you did win the cup in your only appearance.
Yeah. And
So,
to
oh, go
look
ahead.
at to look at Goose's career achievements here, you don't stick around for 19-ish seasons and then some in other leagues, HTML, RSL, whatever, without getting a few of these. So Goose, 2-time LHL All-Star, played 12 LHL seasons, six six times LHL finalist. Oh my god, me too. 10 playoff appearances in 12 seasons. Looks like that's pretty
Pretty
good.
legit, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good clip. 5-time LHL Cup winner. Wow. Goose.
That's more than me,
Goose.
which is a little disappointing.
That's awesome.
You
Yeah,
got
well,
to
it's
share the
also
wealth,
more
Goose.
deserved.
This is kind of fucked up.
Dial's
love
like
it.
final cup, which was like the once in a
Yeah,
blue
yeah.
moon sort of cup, is
Yep.
only because Goose was there.
He carried me to it.
Yeah,
I agree. I
5
Why
agree.
didn't you
cool
draft
Elixir Cup.
me in season 19?
I had my draft strategy planned out, and you were a GM, right?
Ah, fuck.
You were a GM.
Damn. All right, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Tony. Keep going.
No, it's fine. 5-time regular season winner, which is that's good. That's the one people want.
Yep, yep. The
Yeah.
regular season performance. Yeah, everybody
Big
remembers Boston really fondly. Yep.
yeah. The best award of all. He won a Bo Jarson award for perfect attendance.
That sounds
Oh,
like me.
yeah.
Only having one season where I had perfect attendance.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the one-time winner of that more seems like a knock on your 12 seasons, if anything. You won the PK award, best goals against average, the K-Bomb award, best save percentage, T-Lors award, best GM, the Marchie award, steal of the draft, one time, once. You won an RSL Cup. What season was that?
11,
11. That was when
12,
season
12,
left.
season 12.
2 seasons after that. Okay. Let's see. You won 2 Nova Star awards, RSL perfect attendance. You're telling me you made the LHL with perfect attendance twice and the LHL once?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I like the RSL a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
God damn it,
The
Goose.
the old Roman Polak, Frisk, the RSL best goalie. I didn't know you played a lot of goalie in the RSL.
One season. That's
Oh,
all it
well,
took.
hey, yeah, perfect. Cook Memorial RSL best save percentage. I'm gonna guess that's the same season if you only did one.
Yeah,
It was.
First
Yep.
and second in 5v5
I think that's the season he
single
won the
playoff
cup too, isn't it?
season win percentage as goalie. So you won all of the games one time, 88.89 another. That seems like a cherry picked stat. But hey,
I like it.
what are you gonna do? A sweep and then 9 games. First in 5v5 career playoff win percentage as a goalie. Now that's a good one. Third in 5v5 career playoff wins as a goalie. Not too shabby. And third in 5v5 career playoff shutouts as a goalie. Gotta feel good.
Yeah,
Can I
yep.
just add one correction on here?
Yeah, go
Oh.
for it.
So it says 12 LHL seasons. Is that only counting the seasons that I finished the season?
I don't think so.
Because I believe I have
I might have.
17 seasons.
And I don't believe that.
Season 1 Boston,
Okay.
Season 2 Boston,
Okay.
Season 3 Washington,
Okay.
Season 4 Toronto,
Yep.
Season 5 Brooklyn,
Okay. Yeah.
Season 6 Hartford. I played one game. I
Oh.
was drafted and I was going to be like the starting D man, but then due to what Dowfan said, he called me stupid and said I made a dumb play right after I made the play. I was like, Well, DVD, I'm gonna retire because I don't want to play with.
Oh, look at you down in the retired players. Okay, all
I've
right.
seen him
So I
there
think
another
I
time too.
missed that
later.
one. I think I missed
Season
that one.
7, Atlanta.
Okay, yep.
Season 8, Toronto.
So we're
Yep.
already at 8.
Season
Yep.
9, Chicago. Season 12, Cleveland.
Mhm.
Season 13,
So hold on.
Boston.
So that's season 12 is 9, right?
Correct. No,
Season
season 12 is 10.
Are you
Because
sure?
I played the first 9 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then so season
So you only
12 is
missed 2.
10. All right.
Yeah, because I didn't sign up for season 10, and then I was undrafted in season 11. So season 12 was 10.
Did you
Uh,
play LHL games in all of these?
yes, there's at least one game in every
Okay.
one of
Okay.
these.
All right.
Season 13, I was in Boston.
Yeah.
Season 14, I was in Chicago. Season 15, I was with Toronto. Season 16, I
I
was
don't
with
see you
Hartford.
in Toronto here.
I was on that team, and then I got robbed. I got picked in the 3rd round.
Oh, look, you retired again.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
retired. That's what it
you
was.
retired too much. That's the problem here.
Sounds like he played 17 seasons from what I'm hearing.
Season 16's Hartford, and then y'all know 17, 18, 19, Kansas
Yeah.
City, Dallas, and
Okay.
Washington.
All right.
Dial, you
all right.
really screwed up on your.
Well, look, there you go.
Y'all are shortchanging me 5 seasons, which it seems on brand because I always feel like I'm shortchanged in saves. So
Quit smacking the ones that are going high and wide.
I just wanted to point it out. This isn't a knock on anybody, but I'm just saying.
I
I played
told you
17
you could
seasons.
hold things over my head all you want. I gave you the card to do that here,
You did.
Goose. So
You
yep,
did.
yep,
Keep at it.
entirely fair. Okay, so with that out of the way and that correction, I'm not gonna bother changing it on the fucking overlay. Who cares? So we'll start getting into some of the questions, which some of these might sound familiar if you've listened to any of the old ones. A lot of these are going to be very similar vein, if not exactly the same to what we used to do. So I know you actually never really cared for the sport of hockey. So we're going to skip that one entirely, which it makes it a little more interesting how you got into this game in general. But let's just start from square one, video gaming in general. I mean, how long have you been playing games for, and when did you start?
I've been playing games for as long as I can remember. I would play the regular Nintendo, like the NES. We had that at our house, and I would play Super Mario Brothers, and I would try to speedrun it at some point. And I was like 15 seconds from world record time on like my timer I was using, so it wasn't exactly super accurate or anything. But at that time, I was like, oh man, I like this. I like gaming. I like doing stuff. And then you have friends. You start bringing friends over. You start playing games. And so I've been gaming for as long as I can remember.
Were those
Yeah.
more like competitive games, or like was it a
A lot of
competition
co-op.
thing that got
Yeah.
you
It
into it,
was
or
it
a
was a,
co-op thing?
for me. It's the co-op. I like
Okay,
playing
okay.
with friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, co-op doesn't really cover it, but do you have like a favorite genre of game, a favorite type of game? And if so, what is your favorite game? Favorite game all time?
I know my favorite game of all time. I'm trying to think what genre of gaming is
Like
can
first-person
be my
shooters,
favorite.
RPG,
For me,
MMO,
Strategy.
it's
first-person
literally
hockey.
for me, it's literally any game I can play with friends. Like, I don't
Yeah, I know what you
necessarily have
mean.
a genre in general. It's just like if Crab messages me, he's like, "Hey, you want to play this game?" I tell him no, and then he'll be like, "Well, I'm gonna play it," and then I'll get the game. We'll start playing it together. And
Like Earth
like,
Defense Force.
yeah, yeah, I got him into Earth Defense Force for a little bit.
Okay, all right.
But
Who started that one, Germs or you?
me.
You.
That was
Okay,
me.
oh, you.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the same thing. It's just like as long as I can play with people. Like if I'm playing games by myself, it's not very good. Like I'm not a fan of it, except for my favorite game of all time, which is one of the dumbest games that like it's I don't know, it's not a good game, but Ogre Battle 64 is by far
What the
my
fuck is
favorite
that?
game,
I am.
and I loved it. I loved it
I'm looking
because
this up.
there was 7 different endings to that game, and so all your decisions that you make can lead to different endings. the
First game's
different
got some good
characters.
reviews.
It's pretty fun. I'm not gonna
Like
lie.
it's not just. It doesn't look like it's just some crappy little game. It looks like it was.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
was actually a pretty good game.
it's a really good game. Like I like it. It's dumb. If you find like an emulator for it or a ROM for it, it's always just terrible graphics on that.
I'm looking
But
at the pictures. It looks terrible,
it,
like visually. But that we play HQM. I can't even really.
it's a
can't even
good game.
really
Like I
judge it.
probably had hundreds, if not 1,000 hours on that game growing up because it's like you could just do so much. I wanted to get all 7 different endings.
That is incredible. Look at this.
Wow.
It's a good game.
Well,
Ogre Battle
that's
64.
What a
Okay.
Anybody wants to
terrible
play it?
name for a game.
I keep waiting
Look,
for the
hockey
sequel.
question, but like, how can we be judging this, dude?
I'm not saying we're
Okay.
judging. I think there's like there's something about it. There's
Get
something about games with bad names.
true. Getting into hockey and shifting away. Um, how did you first discover HQM? Because you were not a hockey fan, like the actual sport. So
Correct.
were you a Cryptic
S-
Sea fan? Did you have a friend that found it? I mean, how did that
So
come about?
prior to HQM, I was always on this website called eviljoe.com, which was like a break off from the eBombs forums. Um, it was just like there's only about like 20 of us that went there, but it was basically we all go there, we all talk, we game. I still talk to these guys today. Like we have a Discord server, and they wanted to play this game because they played Sub Rosa, and they're like, "Hey, let's play this hockey
Ah,
game."
there it is. Yep.
And so I was like, "Well, I want to play it. Like, I never really get to game with y'all right now. Like, I have to work all the time." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so that was the first time I played it, and which was like in January or February of 2013, I believe. And we played it for a little bit, and then we were getting like this tournament together where it was like, and by tournament it was like a 2v2 tournament, like with all of us. And I wasn't invited to that because I wasn't good enough. And I was
Oof.
like, dang it, like I really want to play this. And then I was like, you know what, like I'm growing tired of this game. There's nothing left here. And then I saw that Cryptic Sea had sent out saying, hey, we're gonna have a 3v3 tournament that I'm
The
gonna host
fabled
and
3v3
sponsor.
tournament. Yeah.
And like I believe there was going to be like a prize for it, and I was like, oh yeah, like I want to do that. So I started practicing, and then at the end we decided it was going to be me, KS Auto, and Crispas, and the 3 of us were going to do the 3v3 tournament. And I was like, all right, but after the 3v3 tournament's done, I'm no longer playing this game. I'm done with it. And I'm still waiting for that day. When that
Yeah.
day finally
Well,
happens, I
well,
will.
You're
what do you think
not
it was that
wrong.
got
You're
you?
not
Like
wrong.
what captured your attention for
I
this
wanted the
long?
prize. I wanted the prize.
And just the prize kept changing, and you just always wanted it.
I wanted to win a 3v3 tournament with KS Auto and Crispas. And then Cryptic Sea just never put it out. He eventually said that he wasn't going to do it, but I think that was like 2 years later or something.
LHL was in full swing, and he was saying he
Yeah,
wasn't doing his 3v3 tourney.
it was not good.
That's incredible. Is like that's all there is to it? It's just something you just became addicted to in a way.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because
It's just so weird.
I wanted to get better because I
Yeah.
was sad that my friends played without me. Like they did their own tournament and I wasn't good enough to play on their team.
Well, now they're not allowed on your
And
team in your tournaments.
we finally ended up playing together during HQML the first season. We were too buff to lose, and then that was the only time that those guys played like with everybody else.
Okay, so let's start getting into your actual career at this point then. Um, Out of everything, of all 12 to 17 seasons that you played, somewhere in there, what would you say is the most, defining moment or like your favorite moment of your career so
So
far?
I have 3 things that I can think about. I don't know if there's any one necessarily above the
Three
other,
answers is fine. That works.
but
I have a feeling I know what 3 they're gonna be.
I, we'll see. So on season 2,
Oh.
me and Crab were playing in Boston, and we were losing to Detroit, I believe. whatever team Jarvin and Pizza run. And game's coming to an end. It's tied, and I have the puck going the wrong way. Basically, is the best way to describe it in their zone. So I like throw it in front because I'm trying to shoot it, but it looks like a pass. So Crab like catches it immediately. I'm like, all right, well, he blocked my shot. I guess I'll just start scratching the net for whenever he misses his shot. And so Crab then like fakes a shot, and then he skates by the net, passes it back. I shoot it, I score, and Winters has like a really good call on that, like a lot of energy, and I love that. I was like, oh, like this is what's getting me into it right now. Like I really love this. That's probably one of the moments. The other one of the other two moments is season 18, game 6.
Thanks.
I'm guessing Tony doesn't like this one, but
Oh yeah, I know exactly what this
It's
is.
a good save.
Yeah.
for me as a goalie, what I feel like I do really well at is that I start learning people's tendencies. Like I know, oh, if they're coming from this direction, they're going to shoot it in this general area, like a little bit higher, a little bit lower. And I'd watched their team's tape. I don't remember what team. What team was that?
Florida.
Florida. I'd watched Florida's videos. I'd watched some of them. I was like, oh, I notice anytime Otto has the puck and he's like on my left side, behind the net, when he passes it in front, Tony always grounds it. But if he passes it from the right side of my net, Tony about 75% of the time would put in the air. And so sure enough, game 6 comes around, we're down by like what, one goal, right? Yeah, and
2-1.
yeah, and I see Otto go behind. Yeah, I quickly look and I was like, okay, it's Tony in front. And I see the pass come and I'm able to just stuff it, just stop it right at the line. And
Yeah.
it starts like sliding, and then BG comes in and clears it away.
Yeah.
That's
If you'd allow me to hijack in between your answers
Go
here,
ahead.
though, of your second and third. So basically, Goose telling me that story, which I've known about for the first time a little while, probably playing Stardew Valley, like it was a while ago now. But when you told me that, I can't believe that my LHL Cup chances were shattered by a goalie watching the tape, studying the tape, and knowing what I was gonna do when I don't know what I do. It
dude,
was just the
I love
funniest
it.
thing.
I love it because people, even if I tell them, a lot of the times they can't change their tendencies. Like
It's hard. It's really hard to break
Like
your
I don't,
tendencies like
I don't
that.
intentionally do that. That's great though
We
that you. It's honestly great that you knew what I was gonna do and were able to make
we did
a
something
good
similar to
save on
season
it.
7 actually on Dallas when we were playing against Winnipeg. We did something similar with their defense, looking at what Byrne does when he's in like a one-on-one situation with somebody and how to get around him, because like which side he cheats to when he's on like the left-hand side versus the right-hand side, and where he puts his stick. And as you could see by how much we scored in that, it worked. So
The only
it's
time I ever remember
you
doing
you'd be
anything like that
surprised
was
how much
knowing
tape like
Crab
that
centers
works.
it on 14.
Yeah. If you it kind of depends on whether or not you can find the trend, but if you can pick out a trend in tape like that, sometimes it doesn't take very long to see that some people do the same things over and over again, because it's kind of muscle memory and you can absolutely exploit that, especially as a
Yeah.
goalie. So
yeah, like I mean, there's certain people that as long as I know who it is that's shooting, I change where my stick is, like 100%.
Yeah.
And then I think my last thing, as far as favorite moment, was just season 18 winning the cup, because that was the first time for me that it felt like I actually helped win the cup. All my previous seasons, I never felt like I was part of the winning team. Even season 2 Washington, people don't remember this, but my internet wasn't good during the playoffs, and so I didn't get to play in the playoffs. Like I played one game for like a couple minutes here and there, and so I was like, well, I'm not really part of that championship team, and plus they had already had like a good team. And then, on Cleveland, I've talked about this before, where towards the end of that season, I was like, well, I don't feel like I'm part of this team. And then even on Kansas City the season prior, because I had school, I was missing some of the games like during the playoffs, and I wasn't there during the actual cup winning game. And so I was like, well, I was on this team, but I didn't feel like I really did too much, honestly.
I can't believe you feel that way about Kansas City. Like you played in the playoffs. You like they
even
Well,
if
the
even
first
if he
round
played for
you played in
every
the finals,
game
didn't you?
except for the final one that like the team won in, it's really
Yeah.
missing that moment on its own is going to make that feel a little bit more hollow, like no matter
Yeah,
what.
I never won as a backup or anything, or so I don't know what that feels like. I just would, but I wouldn't even like. I know you weren't on there, but like I wouldn't I consider you a backup for that team. Like you were
Yeah.
definitely part of Kansas
Yeah, I
City.
mean,
Is
I was
how
a
I viewed it.
starter, but it's like I think on the playoffs I played only half the games or something, and Slim got the other half.
Yeah, it would definitely take something away from it to, like I said, even if you play every game, you have a 7 game series, you play all 6, but you aren't there, like not even physically there to watch the 7th one. eh, Hearing that they win is, you know,
I watched it. I was
Yeah, but
watching it on the computer because
it's
my classroom had a computer, and I brought it up.
that's right.
it's a
Tho-
hollow experience, I'm sure, because it.
Those season 18 bastards don't win it without you, though. So I guess
Oh, we
that would
definitely
feel
don't.
really good.
We definitely don't.
Maybe.
But if some other goalie was there, he wouldn't have been watching the tape. I would have got, I would have got that goal.
All right, so
Oh
let's
well.
let's flip the coin here. What's the biggest regret you have about your career?
I would say the biggest regret is that I didn't take solo practice seriously for the first like 2 or 3 years. Honestly,
Yeah,
um,
most people don't.
I would think that solo practice is dumb because you don't learn anything. You don't learn how team play works, and so I never did it, and I think that's how come I kind of fell off so drastically. I don't know, but I always felt like if I could go back and just solo practice, like for those first few months before there's anybody, then I think in season one I have 200 goals because I went back and watched some of those videos and the
It's
goalies
so
during those
bad,
early
dude. It's
seasons,
so bad.
like the pucks would go in the net and then the goalie would react like a second and a half
Yeah,
later. It's like, oh my gosh.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's funny.
kind of
I
building
can
off that then, to sort of interrupt our normal questions here, but something I'm interested in hearing, because you played all of those different positions, would you have preferred to not be a goalie? Like, would you have preferred to still be a forward or a defenseman?
Like, would I prefer right now if I was?
Well, assuming no, like let's just
I
say,
mean, like,
assuming you could, let's say you were a
Like
starter every
I just stayed
season,
at a good
yeah, and
level.
you were just
yeah,
always a starter.
like
Like, what
what
would you have
what would
preferred?
your ideal position be, regardless of what your current skill level is? What would you want to play?
I mean, forward's the most fun, man. Like you
Okay,
just go
that's what I
out there,
thought. Yeah.
you score goals. But but it's probably forward and then goalie right behind it because there's no better feeling than just stuffing somebody that thinks that they
Hmm.
have a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you wish you had accomplished in your career? I mean, we went through the list, but
Yeah,
I
200 goals, season one. Didn't you hear him?
I wish that I I didn't start dropping off, and I wish I would have been able to actually play those 17 seasons. Like even though I
you
was
mean
in those
12?
17 seasons, or yeah, yeah, even though I was in those 17 seasons, a lot of them I only played like 4 or 5 games, and so I wish I was able to. I wish I would have been able to have stayed at that level so I could actually win awards. Like I didn't win any awards until like the very end of my career. I don't think for the base for like the most part is that like I didn't really win any skater
You
awards.
weren't
I wish I
getting
could
the
have done that.
recognition until you were a goalie,
Yeah,
really, is the big thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so like I wish I would have been able to be good.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, I guess really, I would say personally, it's not about so much being good, right, as it is like, like it's not that you weren't good, it's that it takes, in most cases, to win those awards, it takes a like next level performance in a
I don't think
season
I
to
was
do
good.
it. Okay.
I always,
I've heard
I
I
that.
mean,
genuinely always
look,
thought you were a good D man, especially in like when I first came in, and like you probably would have been
I
like,
don't know, man. You yelled at
RSL.
me. You
I
yelled
it
at
was
me.
because I was an asshole on my team, but
he's still an asshole, so
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. And I remember I watched a lot of RSL games even towards the end, like when you probably would have been, remember, like playing goalie and skating in the RSL at the same time, or
Hmm.
goalie in the LHL, skating in the RSL. Like I remember
Yeah.
seeing a bunch of those games, thinking like, why is Goose here? He's too good for this, even as a skater. Like, I always thought it was really funny, and I always thought you could skate. I felt like every time I'd see in the draft, like, well, Goose is there. He could go. He could
I'm
play
always like
D.
a solid. I'm always like a solid second backup. Like I'm probably not your primary backup, but I'm a guy. If you're missing too many people, I could come
Yeah.
in. I can
You're a
play whatever
solid
position you
30th
want.
overall pick.
Yeah,
If Koof can't be there to come in relief, you're gonna want Goose.
exactly.
Um, okay, so I want to start getting into some of the more specific situations that you experienced throughout your career.
Okay.
The first being, I guess, a little bit more general still, in fairness. As one of the only people that has been interviewed by either Kiwi or I to be around and be involved in a lot of the early LHL days and even pre-LHL days, can you sort of tell us what that was like? Because a lot of people don't know things like we used to play LHL games every fucking night of the week, and we had to
I just
schedule
found
our
that
own
out 2 days
games, and
ago.
a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know those things. It'd be cool to get that insight from you,
Uh,
somebody who had to help run a team.
I mean, it was like the Wild West the first season for
Yeah,
sure, where like there's no set schedule. You got 5 games a week, and you just schedule them whenever you want. And so, at least for the first season, Schmitty would message me like, "Hey, when can you play?" And then I would tell him like, "Okay, well, look, I could take my lunch break during these hours. I live close to home. I could go home and play." And that's what he would do. He would schedule the games around then on my lunch break. And then I would get to play 1 or 2 periods, and then he would bench me and put somebody else in, which I always hated that as from Schmitty. I always hated that he didn't just like let me play the whole game. I can understand some of the other people because everybody's pretty similar skill level, but I was clearly the best player on that team.
and clearly the most experienced too, like no
Yeah,
question
like
about
And
that.
you were
So
going out of your way to make the game.
yeah,
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 and like he would play me like I remember one time in particular, like I'd go home for lunch. He played me 1 period, and then he's like, "All right, that's it." And I was just like, "Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it." And so I know that first season was crazy. Those the seasons following, whenever like people are actually starting to get the hang of it, and now you have people like Otto and Matt, Dial that are just like, well, I can kind of just do whatever I want for the most part, and so you're able to see like a huge skill gap difference between between like the star forwards and the garbage D men, which are just bad forwards that got thrown on defense. And so I mean, whenever the 4v4 5v5 thing happened, I was in favor of the 5v5 because I was like, you got to give these guys less space. They're too good. I'm not good enough to do anything about it. Um, and so, I mean, there's a lot of just uh, grassroots type things going on. Very small. Nobody really had a good idea what was happening. We're just kind of playing it by ear every season. Is what it felt like. So I think that's probably what I'd say. What I'd say to that.
gotcha. Okay, okay. So let's move ahead a couple seasons into the LHL then at this point. So when we to set the scene here, when we went to season three, we went up from 6 teams to 7 teams, and then when we went to season four of the LHL, we went from 7 teams to 8 teams, and that's where we stayed from season four to season five. During those 2 seasons, we allowed for player protections to happen, and we allowed for teams to trade their players in the off season so that you could, trade for a player that you wanted to protect or trade a player that is worth protection that didn't want to stay with you. So there was a lot of like trying to get into sort of the whole like franchise or long-term team building. But some of the problems that come around with that are the fact that we had so much GM turnover between both seasons. And you were one of the GMs who was not there for season four, but ended up picking up a team that had already made some roster moves heading into season five. So you're put in a very unique position heading into season five compared to just about any other GM in history, having to pick up a team that didn't have people worth protecting and turn that into something. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like and sort of the challenge of that?
Yeah, it was tough. I remember I was originally given a GM position for the other team before that. I can't remember who was it that took over. Sammy, I think. Somebody got another team before me, but I was given that position first. I turned it down. And I said, I don't think I want a GM. And then I started thinking about it. Y'all gave the team to the other guy. And then I was like, you know what? I will. I'll GM. And so I was ended up given the worst team. I was like, well, this kind of sucks, but that's kind of what I get for not accepting the first offer.
Yeah, so you had picked up what was Phoenix, I believe,
Hmm.
and Phoenix had it was originally going to be Quoof, spanning the 2 seasons. He was going to keep the team for the next season, um, and in that time, he had traded me to Matt's team, and then um, so you didn't have me anymore to protect, and then that left you without that. So you had, I think it was Tim Barrett and Notled on the roster, and I think you then traded your second round pick for the rights to Taser, who had told his GM that he wasn't going to accept protection. So
Correct.
Taze ended up being protected by you, and that was the foundation for your team building around Taze. So
Yeah, I had asked Hayes prior to making the trade. I said, "Hey, I know you're not staying with Super. If if I trade for you, will you stay with me? Will you accept the protection?" And he said, "Yeah, I would." And I was like, "Dope." So I made the trade, and then people started questioning it, saying, Taze isn't staying, right? I was like, "Well, I mean, I know he's staying. Like,
you
everybody
wouldn't
else
have
needs to just
made the
shut up."
trade. Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
everybody else needs to just shut up. And so, that happens, and then the draft comes, and for my first round pick, I want to take Crab. I want to take Crab for my first round pick, but Taze tells me he wants pizza. I was like, all right, I'll, I'll get you pizza. You're my first round pick. I'll do what you want. Biggest mistake of my life. I should not have picked pizza. I should have taken Crab because pizza isn't the guy for like if he's on a breakaway, everybody has to be quiet, otherwise he's gonna like mess up
Yep.
and
Yep.
yell. And so, I needed somebody like Crab that was just like, he just do whatever he wants. And me and him always worked well together. And so I ended up going with pizza. And then the season did not go that great because at the beginning of that season, Taze told me he wanted to play offense. And so I had Taze on
Yeah,
offense
because
for
he
a
had
little
played
bit.
offense the season before that,
Yeah,
for
that's whenever he got
context.
all those points or
Yeah,
whatever.
you got like 91
61
points or
goals.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he wasn't able to perform as well. Sometimes teams don't mesh. And so our team just did not mesh. And whenever I was given the opportunity, I made the trade to get Taze out and bring in Crab and Fuzzy Wuzzy, which is Hef.
Hmm.
And my team started making the comeback. And then we had the bacon screw job happen, which is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
greatest,
Yeah. The
the
infamous
greatest
illegal substitution.
tragedy
Yep.
Explain
of all
that for
time.
those of us who were not there,
So
who weren't born
basically,
yet.
it was my team versus Goose's team. So Chicago versus Brooklyn towards the end of the season, like
The
the
Matt
very
Dial
end.
team.
Correct.
Yes. And Matt was not there that game.
He was there that game.
Are you sure? I didn't think he was because I
Yes,
thought it was me not letting Dopey on the ice.
he was there because I remember Germs saved him with like 30 seconds left in the game,
Okay.
and we
Okay.
explode. Our team exploded.
Okay, so that makes sense then because what had happened is I had basically I had been sprung for what could have been a breakaway, very close to a breakaway.
Oh, I know that. Yep, go
And
on.
while this is happening, like literally while the puck is traveling to me, Notled and Dopey, I believe it was, switched
Mhm.
out. So Notled came out, Dopey goes in, and Dopey subs in like right in the middle of the ice where we're like skating through. So at this point
Right
in
in front of
time,
Hef. Right
Hef
in front of
Hef
Hef.
is trying to back check me and get to me so he can stop me from getting on a breakaway. And it's not right in front of Hef,
It's
but
right
it's
in front of
it's
him, and it
very
caused Hef to move.
it's very close to Hef, close enough that he like reactively moved to the right a little bit to try to like get out of the way,
Mhm.
and that gave me enough space to like get past and be able to score on that play. So he was not physically in the way, but the argument was that it was enough of like a sudden shock of him joining the ice like right next to him and right in his field of vision that it caused him to mess up on the play. So originally, if there were what made it even worse too was the way it was called. Originally, it was called I think a good goal, right? And
Yeah.
then it went to which was Taze that decided that. Then it went to a GM vote. Taze got the 5 votes of the other GMs or 6 votes. I think it was 5 in total because they left out Detroit because Detroit was also impacted, the team that was competing with you guys for the playoffs.
Well, they
Um,
actually let I remember this. They let everybody vote, myself and Bo included, and Bo is in charge of Detroit because
mhm.
Bo is just like, why are they letting us vote? Like, we're just gonna vote for whatever helps our
Yeah,
team. And so the problem happened here, where first off, Tickle at the time was a GM, I believe, and he was grounded, and so nobody was able to contact Tickle for a little bit, and he wasn't involved in the initial voting. And so Taze asked a couple of GMs, and then he's like, okay, well, I now know the consensus. I'm going to make the post saying that it's a good goal. The problem was he was assuming Sammy's vote. And so when I was talking to Sammy, because like I was trying to do the numbers in my head, I was like, I feel like we should have won. Like, I don't know who voted which way. And so I talked to Sammy, and Sammy's like, yeah, I don't know which way the votes should go. Like, I don't like it. I think it's not a good goal. Like, I think he interfered. And then we're just like, wait, but Tay's already made the post that says that you were one of the people that voted that said that it's a good goal. He's like, no, I never even talked to Taze. And so that's where the initial thing happened, where Taze he assumed the votes. And so he then deletes that, puts up a new post saying that Brooklyn is now going to go to, or it was a no goal, which would allow Brooklyn to go to the playoffs, essentially.
which I think came after like another set of games had been played or
Yeah,
something like that.
It was
So
after.
everybody was already operating under the assumption that like Brooklyn isn't going to make the playoffs at this point because they lost that game, which this is like the last day of the season basically. So like obviously that changes the way people play the final game. A lot of people when the playoffs are signed up or like set up don't really care that last game. We see forfeits and stuff all the time. So the whole thing was just handled so poorly from a like a management perspective on that end, and it ultimately turned into like such a big deal. And
I
really
think that's what caused Taze to stop being
it was
commissioner, right? Yeah.
in the post that he announced that where he like corrected his mistake and then fixed it to say no goal, he said he will not be returning to the league next season.
And the thing
So
that happened was that Tickle came back after Taze ruled that it was no goal. And so then that's another vote that
yep,
could come in and
yep,
change the outcome.
the whole thing was just so scuffed.
And it was just terrible. And
And
so
that's
God.
Crab actually went on vacation thinking we were in the playoffs. So Crab goes to vacation thinking we're good, we're in the playoffs. So like I think he missed like the last game or something. And then he comes back from vacation and he finds out that we're no longer in the playoffs.
yeah. The whole thing was
That
completely
is
fucked.
insane.
I've
That
And
is so
always
funny.
I've always held a grudge against Taze for that.
that's what ended up
It's good.
causing Taste to step down, and that's where the shift in BOC came in, where Matt and Super stepped up and became BOC after that, and they're the ones who infamously took us to 5v5. So that
And got rid of
illegal
protections and trading.
substitution is what started 5v5 LHL.
Yeah. Dial ripping one on a breakaway while his teammates set illegal moving
Dopey
screens.
G is the one who initiated the LHL moving to
He invents
5v5.
lookup turnings and then makes us
Yep,
switch to
yep,
5v5. I hope he comes back and invents
yep.
something else.
Elite. Okay.
That is amazing.
So yeah, it's a really interesting story, and I I do
We would
feel
have won.
I
The
do
thing
feel
is,
bad
we
about
would have
that.
won. We would have won
I
in the
don't think he
playoffs.
would have won in the playoffs.
The
I
Dial
don't
Mat
think so.
team that
We would have we just beat Chicago, and so we're going in on a high. And
They
I
would
was
have.
making a goalie change because Jarvin, I remember, I was in TeamSpeak. We were all in TeamSpeak on our team, and then like I went to go get a drink, and I came back, and Jarvin was saying about how he's given up on the team. He's ready for the season to be over, but he didn't think I was there. But I heard that, and I was like, well, that sucks. Like, that's not good.
that stinks.
And so instead, we put Germs in net for that Chicago game, which is his first time ever playing goalie, I think. And he was able to just do good enough that we were able to win. And so I was like, in the playoffs, I'm going to split time. I'm going to do Like I'll give Germs like the first 2 games, I think, and then Jarvan the first 2 games. Then we'll see where we go from there, or the next 2 games, you know. And so I was ready. Like we were lined up. Me and Crab, we already knew we had uh, Los Tres Amigos 2.0 back together,
Oh
which is
yeah.
me, Crab,
Yep.
and Hef.
Yep.
And so we were ready. And then we just got screwed so hard.
God,
So
that's funny.
moving forward from that just a little bit. So as I pointed out, that was the final season of 4v4 heading into 5v5. And when we went to 5v5, we went back down from 8 teams to 6 teams. Do you feel like that expansion to 8 teams at the time was justified? Because the bottom 3 teams that season ended up being pretty far behind in the standings anyway from the top 5. There was a pretty sizable gap.
I personally did agree with it, even after the huge gap in skill, just because people are playing this game to play the game. Whereas if we have 6 teams, there's a lot of people that just aren't going to get the ice time when they want to play. And so I was okay with the switch to 8 teams, or the expansion to 8 teams, because it allows more people to play. And I've always been a fan of that. Like I'm not a fan of excluding people because they're not necessarily good enough. I mean, and at that time, like we had an RSL, right? But it wasn't exactly the RSL. It was just like, yeah,
It was
garbage.
still kind of in its infancy. Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of people didn't take it very seriously. Not to say that they really ever did, but it got a lot more professional or organized than it was at that point in time.
yeah. And so I was definitely a proponent for 8 teams to be in there. That way, more people. I always liked it. And we would have won. We were one of those bottom 2 teams. We would have won.
Not sure,
So what
but I
about the move
believe.
to 5v5 then? Did you agree with that or did you prefer 4v4?
Oh, I agreed with that, and I definitely thought I would excel at 5v5 because I was always like a passer as far as being a forward goes.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, you need that. You need a passer and a scorer, and I'm the passer.
Yeah, you
And
weren't the type that
then
needs the open ice to be able to generate.
exactly,
Yeah, exactly. I get you.
like I can get you the puck and you'll be good. Problem was I sucked and I was bad, and so
Well,
that's whenever
according
I
to
started.
Dalfan.
That's whenever I started to go more defensive sided. Was after the 5v5 switch, and then after that I still wasn't really good. Like I was just kind of there, and I mean I agreed with it. I definitely think it was the best thing for the game. I think if we would have stuck with 4v4, I don't know how our meta would have changed as far as just like, is it always just going to be like one really high score on every team, or is it just going to be more of a team game? So
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think, the Russians found a team game out of 4v4, but they really had to force that, like really force that. And you almost have to like intentionally not try to go for breakaways and stuff to make
yeah.
that work, just because 4v4 is so prone to that and it's so easy to generate those types of things that it's like, why wouldn't you? You know?
Hmm.
Okay. So my next question for you is we're jumping way far into the future to like, I don't know, your 7th season playing or something on season 13 Boston, which I
Yeah.
know you were I know you were a backup on this team for a large portion of it, but still, season 13 Boston has to be one of the most interesting teams to me that's ever been put together in the LHL. I know you were around for the HQML version of Three Pronger, uh, which was
Hmm.
Matt, Timo, and I going for and this was in 4v4, going for the three forward, no defense strategy. And this was the first time that anybody had really tried to do that in the LHL with Lucic, Timu, and Otto, which is a pretty disgusting pairing of 3 basically superstar goal scorers that you're trying to deal with. And Otto was able to make it work by actually playing stellar fucking defense, but beyond that, still is a really interesting scenario putting 3 players like that together that are all more selfish with the puck and all like to have the puck in their hands. And I was kind of hoping to sort of gauge your insight onto like what that was like on that team, because a lot of people, myself included, would have expected that to be a colossal failure with players that seemed to be not a good fit together. But they ended up being the number one seed in the league. And as somebody who had an insider, view into that, I'm curious sort of what your thoughts are, like how that worked and everything.
Well, I was the last pick in that draft. And I remember I was pretty sure I was only picked for the memes because
You
it's
played
just
2
like
games.
it's like, oh yeah, it's Goose. Like, he's an older guy, and so this, plus they had Germs, and so anytime they needed me, they knew it's like, oh, Germs can just get me. Um, that team, I don't really have too many fond memories of that team. It was a lot of talking and just a lot of just noise for me. I tried to zone out as much as I could anytime I showed up for them.
That's not surprising. Yeah, Timu and
And
Lucic.
yeah, and I remember if I
Chatterbox
remember
Auto.
correctly, the reason we lost in the playoffs, it's like Self Plug kept playing out of net.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching that as a goalie and thinking, just put me in net and I will stay there. I will be the best goalie on the team
Which
because right now Self Plug is playing as a forward, as
I
a
mean,
goalie.
yeah, and that would have won you guys the series in all honesty that
Yeah.
you guys lost because that was a pretty it wasn't a huge upset necessarily, but it's still a 1 seed losing to a 4 seed, like that's a pretty big deal. It was what, New York, right, that
Yep.
ended up
Mhm.
beating you guys, and TB and DMB just took massive advantage of the fact that Selflood would continue to lead the net.
Yep.
And those are two smart players that know how to force a turnover, especially on somebody like Self-Plug who tunnel visions way too hard. And shocker, he leaves the net, turns the puck over to a forward, they put it into an empty net, and now you're in a hole. And that happened to you
So
guys like
frustrating
every
to
game
watch.
in that
Yeah, they,
series.
they
Yeah.
they were up 3-1 and
Yeah.
lost it as a
Yeah.
direct result of that.
Yep. And I definitely agree with your assessment there. If you're in net for that team, you guys win that series.
All
So,
Lucic
And
had to
probably the
do is put
cup.
me in net. That's all he had to do was
yep.
put me in net.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a little afraid to do it. All right. Well, I got a good transition here. let me work this one out. So you weren't playing a lot of games. Yeah, you're just kind of a backup there. So clearly you were obviously playing in the RSL.
Yep.
And we were just talking about this on a recent face-off. Don't know how recent it is at the time of the upload, but for us, we were just talking about sort of player development and things. And I don't know if I would describe it development what happened with you, but do you feel like the RSL going to it after you were an LHLer helped you sort of reinvigorate your career and make it back into the league? Because not many people did that. You started LHL, went to RSL, and then back up to the LHL, which is just incredible.
I personally don't think that it was the RSL that reinvigorated my career, um, because I was still just playing like defense in the RSL for the longest time. For me, what brought me back was just Crab telling me, like I was close to retiring. I was really close to retiring after season 13 on, or after season 12. I'm sorry, on Cleveland. I was telling Crab like I don't think I'm gonna play LHL anymore. It's not fun for me. I don't get to play. I'm garbage whenever I do show up, and I know this. And then Crab told me, it's just like, just start playing goalie. Like, just do that. And then if you do one season in the RSL, if you're the best goalie in the RSL, I'll draft you the next season. And I was like, well, I mean, like I at least do somewhat okay in the RSL as a defenseman. And I know it's kind of like a crapshoot for like if you're a goalie, if you have just two bad defensemen, you're gonna have a bad time. I
Yeah.
decided
Yep.
I was like, you know what? All right, fine. I'll do it. I'll switch to goalie, and I want to see if it can happen. I told myself if I'm not able to do anything with this after like one season, I was only giving myself one season, then I was just gonna give up and just be done with the game. And so I don't necessarily think it was the RSL. I think it was literally just Crab telling me, just start playing goalie. That way, whenever I shoot on you, at least it's actually helping. It's not just
It was
doing
more
nothing.
position switch than the
Yeah, it
RSL
was
helping
definitely
you
the
helping your
position
game.
switch.
Yeah.
Yes, for
Just
sure.
one more knock against the RSL as a
I
development
think it
tool.
was good
Perfect.
though because I know Germs in particular, like may his career rest in peace. Um,
He'll be back.
he no, he he liked playing in the RSL because he actually got to play. Whereas in the LHL, he would always get drafted to teams where they would just never play him at all, like even during scrims. And so I know he was tired of that, and he was a fan of the RSL. I feel like he would have been better in the LHL if he just didn't get high all the time. Because he
Well, we
always
we would never know. Maybe he couldn't play the game.
he well according to him
Was-
he plays better when he's high. So
yeah. He only plays when he's high, as
yeah,
far as I remember.
exactly. So I definitely think that the RSL was a good thing because it definitely allowed
Yeah. No, I
players
think
to
the
play.
RSL is a good. You need that second league. I'm
Yeah,
just talking about for in terms of player development,
I
which
think
is
he
sort of the
developed.
question
I,
there.
I thought he developed into like a good defenseman. He was just like
I always loved getting
a
dibs
little
in the
always
RSL.
under the influence, and so,
Yeah.
so take that influence away. He's probably best defenseman in the league.
Yeah. How tough was it going from playing with the best players in the whole game to have to playing with RSL scum
It was
like
super
me?
demoralizing.
Yeah.
I remember season 11, whenever I just didn't get drafted at all in the LHL, which is the first time that happened. I was sad. I was really
Blame
sad.
Crab. He didn't draft you to California.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
Crab was
understandable.
GM.
I wasn't good. In season 10, the season prior, I didn't sign up, but I was like always playing with Edmonton. Like anytime Crab needed a player, he would just like message me like,
You
"Hey,
were his Paco.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was always in the
Alias
Prem
and
squad."
he was
Yeah.
in net for Fat Squirrel. I
So
knew something was weird there.
I know it sucks, man. It really sucks whenever at you start your career off third overall pick in the LHL, and then all of a sudden undrafted because nobody thinks you're of any use on any team.
Yeah. That
It,
that
so
happened to me
it's
too.
terrible. It is
That happened.
absolutely terrible.
Oh, I didn't go from RSL, but I had a good couple RSL seasons, and then I didn't get drafted a couple times, and it always bugged me. I was like, look at some of these guys going, some of these RSLers that I know I'm better than.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
know.
would say. That's what I would say during
I
all
f-
those drafts, just being like, "Why am I getting picked so late? I'm better than this guy, this
yeah,
guy,
yeah.
this guy."
I think
I think
everybody has that.
a lot of it when it came to the LHL, anyway, like Payne and I were talking about this the other day. A lot of it when it comes to the LHL specifically is GMs tend to like to pick things that are a little more safe. A lot of the times it seems like they prefer sort of the known quantity versus the unknown. And everybody wants to have like reliable players, right? Reliable backups that you can trust to be there to fill in when you need it. So and I'm not saying that you don't fit that, right? But that's definitely a pattern that I noticed for, most of the people that have GM'd throughout LHL history. So for one reason or another, you probably just weren't viewed as somebody that could be reliable. Maybe because
Yeah.
you retired all the time.
Well,
Yeah, you keep
one of
dropping on
Uh,
those
teams.
well,
Yeah.
but
one of those retirements was due to my computer died. Like, oh, let's see, it was the season I was on Toronto, season 4.
was that the which season where you played
Um,
as Gray?
I don't know, maybe, but I was
Grey
on
Goose.
pace to end the season with 32 assists, and then which would have been more than anybody. Like that would have been the
Yeah, that would have been
record
the
at the time.
record. Yep.
And like I was playing really well. Like my passes were perfect. I was doing everything, and then my computer died, and I had to start playing on Germs's laptop, and it was no good, man. Like my terrible frames, terrible ping, everything was just wrong with it. And so I had to retire, but I was so mad at that season because I was like, this is it. Like this is the season where I'm actually contributing. I think I retired and I had like 18 assists, and we were only halfway through the season. And I was just like, I am doing this. And the closest person had like 12 assists. Like, and I was so mad at that one.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
All the
that's
other ones though, it was like Dalfan yelled at me, so I cried and retired. And then
well,
I don't know, I probably wasn't playing enough, so I just retired.
a
But yeah,
lot
because
of
like that was around the time where you had shifted to defense, right? And I think at
Yeah.
that point, like had you really started much on defense recently in the LHL around season 10? Because I don't think you had, right?
Uh, no. I mean, I considered myself a defenseman starting around like season 6. and then I kind of just want to play forward after I did that, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, defense sucks. I like forward, and then I think it was probably season 9 whenever I finally came back. It was just like, well, let's start doing defense again. I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
and I still wasn't good enough.
Yeah, unfortunate realities have taken big stretches off. Uh, so we talked a little bit about your three-peat, the amazing one, and how you kind of weren't super high on yourself at 17. And not only does it sound like you weren't super high on yourself in that win, but you fell to 30th in the draft, the 5th round, and then you led the league in save percentage and you win the cup. Did that draft motivate your performance? Like, what caused
Yeah,
that?
I hated every single GM in there. I didn't understand what I did wrong. Like I ended the playoffs as the second best goalie in the playoffs. I think I had like a 59 or 60% save percentage. Like it's not great, but it's like that's good enough. Like that's good. And then I get picked in the 5th round. F all those goalies or all those GMs
Yeah,
and
all the goalies too.
and the goalies. I should have been
Those-
picked before all these people. It doesn't. It's looking back at that draft, it still doesn't make sense to me as to why
So
I went all the way down there.
I could tell you a big part of the reason why is
Attendance?
that we were the last team to need a goalie, and we didn't have a pick in the 3rd or 4th round. So we literally couldn't pick you before the 5th round. And by the time we got to the 5th round, where we had 2 picks, we had 25 and 30 overall. Picking you at 25 wouldn't have made sense because nobody else would have picked you before 30, if that makes sense. So instead, we wanted to get a better backup at that point in time, like backup skater, so that we could take advantage of the higher 5th round draft pick and then pick you at 30.
None
So
of it makes sense.
put it this way, if we had had an actual 4th round draft pick, you would have been drafted in the 4th somewhere, which obviously still probably would have been low
Garbage.
for what you wanted. But there's a difference between being picked 19th, which is where our 1st round draft pick was, our 4th round draft pick would have been, and being picked 30th. I mean, that's an 11 spot difference.
I hated.
Well, hey, it's good for you. You picked him so late because he was working hard. It sounds
Yeah,
like.
I apologize. I accidentally unplugged my my headset right after I said I hated it. But
Yeah.
that's
I
all
was gonna say I hated everything about that. Like I was so high on. Well, I think during the offseason I was kind of low on myself. I didn't think I was that good. But going into the draft, I was like, you know what? I just won the cup. I'm gonna get drafted probably 3rd round at somewhere in there. I should be fine. I'm watching the draft and I'm just watching pick after pick after pick, and then 4th round comes and goes, 5th round goes, and it's like all the way at the end of the 5th round, and I'm just like, why am I gonna get drafted in the 6th round? Why? What did I do? And then I get picked, and I'm just like, fine, whatever. Like I'll play for this team. F this team. F all the other teams. And then I did good.
Yeah, you killed it for us.
Yeah. Again, they don't win without you.
Arguably the only reason we won the cup. So
One of the big reasons.
God, I'm
Other
so
than
mad at that.
Dial and
So mad.
good D. Yeah. You were same season, the season that you were mad going into. You're one of the 2 players to ever win the statistical goalie award. So you had the best save percentage and best goals against average, but you didn't win best goalie. You feel like you deserved that?
Yeah. I feel like if, and this is just me being me, this is how I think, but I've always felt that if me and PK switched teams and had the exact same stats, I feel like PK would have still won best goalie. And like I feel like I deserved it. I feel like I understand his defense wasn't exactly the best defense,
Job on Koof. A lot
but
of canoodle and Koof, actually.
at the same time, like I'm still making the saves. I got the percentage. I'm not letting in that many goals. I definitely felt like I should have been the best goalie. But I can understand why PK won it, but that doesn't mean I don't feel like I should have won it.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, mentioned you're one of 2. At the same time this happened was, we found this out today. It was season 7, and Dalfan led. He won best save percentage, best goals against, and PK won best goalie because he was on LA instead of Dallas.
I remember that season, and I remember thinking Dalfin should have won best goalie.
We kind of looked at that and maybe thought the same thing. Yeah, so that's a pretty funny one. Good old
Okay,
PK
since
stealing best
you,
goalies.
you seem to have some strong opinions about PK, perhaps this will be the answer to this question, but who do you think is the most overrated player of all time?
Other than myself, I definitely think I was overrated for the first several seasons. I honestly and truly cannot think of it. Ike. Ike is the most overrated. I take it back.
I can't think. It's Ike.
I, because he always just does the same things. And so I know on that last, like on season 18, whenever like he was doing really good, right?
19,
On
18, yeah,
19.
19.
19, yeah,
Yeah.
on
One of those
Dallas.
seasons. He was like, he scored against me a lot the first couple of times I went against him. But then I realized, it's like, oh, he literally just sits like just a little bit away from the net on my right side. And so all I have to do is knock the passes away. And so for like the second half of that season, anytime we played his team, I just knocked the passes away before he got a chance to shoot them. And so I think he's overrated. I thought he was overrated at the time based on his performance. Like I think he performed well, but I thought that was just inflated and garbage. And I know some people probably don't think he was that good, but I also think he was worse than what they thought.
He always reminded me of a Timu-esque player, like somebody that
Yeah.
had a
Yeah,
tremendous amount of offensive skill and, it had enough skill to be able to put up points, but never had those other like sort I'm looking for. Um, the it's a terrible word, but intangible side of things, right? The things you don't
Not
see
even
necessarily.
intangible. It was just like more parts. Like there's more to the game than sitting
Well,
in front of the net
yeah,
scoring.
there's the whole mental side of the game. That's really what I'm getting at is I don't think he ever had a deep enough understanding of the mental side of the game to be able to exploit teams to the extent that he could have with the amount of skill that he had. Like if
Yeah, he could have been
he
awesome.
sort of took a different approach to the way that he tried to like play the game and position himself, I think he could have been a lot more than what he was and get to the point of being like maybe not entirely on this level because it's a hard level to reach, but close to the level of like Guy and stuff like that, right? Like we're talking really,
Yeah, Ike
really
was
good
yeah, he had a
players.
good he tried interesting things.
Yeah,
yeah,
Like he would interesting, I think is the best word for it. It wasn't always good and it wasn't always
yeah.
fun to be on his team when he was trying stuff. But yeah, creative player.
Okay, who do you think is the most underrated player?
Germs. I honestly and truly believe
I
that
can see
Germs
that.
is the most underrated player. During season 19, there were times, especially after we traded for Taser, because he could only show up for like half the games at that point because he was in a top golf league, I believe.
Hmm.
Um, we would play Germs on defense, and we would win those games with Germs on defense.
And these are
And
playoff games too.
they're both, yeah. He played.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, yeah. I know there was also one game in particular where we were missing both of our D men, and so I was like, all right, I think I had Super. I was like, Super, get in net. I'm gonna play defense. It's gonna be me and Germs, just like we did in the RSL back in Manitoba. Before
When probably a little better.
Before Tony yelled at us, and then I got
Before I
traded. I think.
dismantled that team and forced Monty to trade you for Tidge.
And we ended up going 1-1 that day. And the game that we lost, it wasn't because of him. It was just like Super didn't necessarily make the best saves, but I definitely did not help him out as much. And so I definitely always thought that Germs was kind of underrated. Like
Yeah.
people see him as just like he's the guy that gets high and plays or whatever, but that's what he does. That's how he
Yeah.
plays.
I for like 3 seasons there, I got on Gurm's RSL team, and for those 3 seasons, I always thought he was the best D man in the RSL. And then once I was between him and Austin. It was literally torn. Maybe Dial remembers that of how like I wanted Gurms or Austin, and
Hmm.
the only reason I took Austin is because I didn't want to pick Gurms again. I felt like he was probably sick of me. And then I messaged him afterwards like, oh, I'm sorry, dude, I didn't pick you. I went a different way, and he's like, what?
He's just like, who is this?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like,
I gotta
anyway,
start
good
smoking.
luck. Good luck. Yeah, I can see that pick, and there's a lot of value in that. Like, yeah, Gurms was He could have played probably. Like he
I
could
think
have
so. I
at
think
least more. He should have played more than he did for like basically the entire time I was in the LHL. Like I never saw Germs
I wish he would have
except that
practiced.
time I played a 4v5 with him and we won against Dial's team.
I wish he
On
would have
Pittsburgh.
practiced more and
Don't know
took
what
it
you're
a little
talking
bit more
about.
serious. But
Yeah,
That was
make him practice
always
now. It's his time, Goose.
that
Season
was always
20
the
is
thing for me as somebody who never saw or felt like I saw enough out of Germs. It never felt like he took the game seriously enough, and that always led to me not ever feeling confident in putting him in. Because I mean, everybody knows I always took the game really seriously. I wanted to be the best I could be and have the best team I could have every single time. And it felt like he was the type of person that wouldn't be willing to put the effort in to do that. And that was always what kind of turned me personally away from him as a defenseman, at least on teams that I was GMing.
hmm
yeah.
I gave him a Zippo lighter that has like a HQM background. It has like him shooting the puck on the background on the Zippo lighter.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's
That's
pretty
cool.
dope. He never
You,
uses it.
do you
It's
still have it? You should take a picture of it.
I know he still has it. I don't know where it's at though. He
Oh,
probably has
where
it in
would
his
be?
desk.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe it's the same answer. Who knows? But did you ever have like a role model you looked up to as a player?
No, not at all. I always thought I was
Yeah.
the best at everything, even whenever I was the worst. Even whenever I thought I was bad, there was never a player that I
Yeah.
watched. And
You
I
were
was
still
just like,
doing it all right. Like
yeah, like
everything was correct.
I think I always felt like I had the knowledge, but not the skill. That's how I always felt. It's like I know what's about to happen, and I can't stop it. There's nothing I can do to stop this. Especially like if I'm on defense, it's just gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Well, that's an easy enough answer.
Yeah, I saw that question. I was just like, there's nobody,
There's nobody.
absolutely nobody.
Yeah, role model's a weird way of putting that too. I don't know if I had ever had a role model. Monty? I don't know. My first GM.
Real way to think of it is like a player that you looked up to or a player that, inspired you in some way to like
This is
be
Hattrick and
better.
Monty.
Nobody.
So
I
like
needed everybody to look up to me.
Yeah.
I would have expected that like Crab would have been an answer for you for that one,
Nope.
seeing as he
No.
had or seemed to have had a lot of impact on the trajectory of your career and your motivation personally as a
Yeah,
player.
but no.
Nope. No. I think
Well,
I think his play is garbage. I think I'm better than him. And
Oh, that's
there's no reason for me to look up to him or even try to mimic my play about him.
I mean,
Because
yeah,
reasonable.
it'd be
I,
pointless because
I
it
think
would
I'm
just
better.
it would just tank you trying to play like him. It would just hold you back. All right. Do you have a favorite player to either play with or watch?
To watch, it's Matt 100%
Oh
because
yeah.
Thank
Matt just
you.
does
Thank
nutty
you.
things left
Yeah.
and right. But I even remember like during one of these tournaments, I think 2 tournaments ago, he got the puck and like he's all by himself. There's nobody close. I'm goalie. He gets the puck from like the corner of our end, and he gets it. I see him setting up for this thing that he does where he just lifts the puck, carries it, and just slams it in all in one motion. And so I saw that coming. I swatted that away instantly. But just knowing that he hasn't played for a while, he still came up. He's just like, you know what? I'm still gonna go for this. And I think on any other goalie, he scores that because nobody is gonna.
Nobody would know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's
Yeah.
gonna think he's gonna do this. But I was like, oh, it's Matt. He's gonna do something stupid, but like a good stupid that just
Yeah.
makes you want to throw up after watching it. And so I definitely think Matt was probably my favorite player ever to watch.
Yeah. Plus,
Um,
he's made that save and it went into your net right before that tournament.
yeah, and to play with, I mean, it's definitely Crab. Crab's always just like Crab's the homie. And
Mhm.
you know what? I think playing with Otto as well. Like I like playing with Otto just for all the shenanigans that he does. And I guess Kiwi in that scenario because it has to be Otto and Kiwi together and me and net, and then I just kind of sit there and I don't do anything. I just whatever. I'm just watching here recently, and then I mean, those are definitely the players that I like playing with.
Yeah. Is there anybody you ever wish you'd gotten the chance to play with?
I don't know if there's anybody that I really haven't played with. Honestly, I can't think of one
Pick
other
one.
than other than Tukaturi from HQML season 1.
There's no guys that maybe you played with recently that you're forgetting, like that you didn't play LHL with. I don't know. Maybe
I,
you probably played with everybody.
that's what I'm trying to think. But I mean, I was there with Juice in Chicago one season. I think. I believe Paco was there for me one season. I honestly and truly cannot remember a
Did you play with
season.
Matt?
Yeah, we were on Hartford, and then I retired after one game.
Matt
that
didn't show up
counts.
for that team very much either, so
That was not a
He-
good season for DVD.
He stood down in solidarity with Goose.
But you know what? I I am personally a person that just like holds grudges. If you wrong me,
Still mad at
I
Dolphin
hold
Days
that. Yeah, I,
and me.
yeah,
you can
and
be
I
mad at me for
One of
something
them was
too.
unintentional.
yeah. I'm still. There's like 3 people on my list that are just like
Oh,
y'all are marked for life. Dial, Tony, and Taze. Like y'all 3 are marked for life. Where
What
I
about
hate
Dalf?
y'all. Yeah, I mean Dalf sucks. Everybody knows that. And he said I
what
was
Delph did was a little
Can,
worse than
can
what
I
I
hear
did.
can I hear at least like specifically what it is that I'm on the list for?
Scoring that goal.
for oh my gosh, for the World Cup, Dial. Why do I even have to say it? Like you should know why you're on the list for kicking me out of the World Cup.
Look,
Ooh.
I didn't kick you out of the World Cup.
You know what? Let's hear your side of the story so I
No,
can
no,
tell
no,
the
no, no.
truth
Go ahead.
afterwards.
Go ahead. You tell your side of the story and I'll defend it. Go on.
Yeah, I'm unaware
on.
of this story entirely.
So let me tell you. Let me tell you, Tony. So we get this World Cup going, and there's like a group of us that are just like, hey, let's decide as a group on who should represent America for USA. And so I don't remember who's in the group other than like me, Dial, Jarvin, somebody else, some other guy, who knows. And so everybody makes their lists and we just basically rank people. And at the end of the day, I'm on the team and Tim Barrett is left off for
This is like around season 3-ish, season 2, season 3.
for toxic attitude. I think is essentially everybody's just like we don't want him on the team because of his toxicity.
Because they don't like him.
Yeah, and so I was there. I was the player to that got the spot. Me and Taze, I believe, and
Yes.
then Dial plays
This was a
an
4v4
all-star.
tournament. Just
Dial plays like an all-star game with Tim Barrett, and then he comes back. He's just like, "Hey, Tim's gonna be on the team, and you're off the team." I think it was the exact words,
no.
and
No.
I was just like, "You know what, Dial? You're power hungry. You try to take over everything you can." And then honestly and truly, I kind of turned the community against Dial because then other people started being like, "Hey, what happened? Like, why is Tim on the team now? Like, why is Dial doing this?" And then Dial retired.
Yep, that was the
Yes.
start of my retirement. People
And
complaining that I was being power hungry and trying to control too much.
So please tell me your lies.
Look,
I mean your side of the
Look.
story.
I thought correctly that Tim and Taze were the 2 best defensemen that we had to offer for Team USA, and that would have given us a better chance for winning the international games than playing you instead of one of the 2 of them. That was my
okay, so
justification
that's
for it.
basically that's the
Is that
same
not
story. Nothing
corresponding with
changed except it
that's
was
Yeah.
he's corroborating what I'm saying, correct? Like
yeah.
No,
You're
I'm
just
not.
saying what
Look,
Goose says is fact.
okay.
I,
Okay.
You played with
I'm.
Tim and then kicked Goose off the team for it.
I didn't kick Goose off the team. I didn't say he couldn't be on the team. I'm just saying, there's no point to putting out not the best lineup that we could possibly put out, and that's
Did you
not
guys
to
win?
say I don't even
No.
remember.
No.
I
Dial
Goose remembers.
left
So,
the team and then
well,
I
yeah,
still didn't really play the so you're just down 2 men. I think I played like 1 game because they needed me and that was it.
yeah, I ended up leaving the team, so I believe it was Lucic that took my spot, and then I forget who played offense with him because I don't think Dick McButts was involved in the team at the time. So Anyway, yeah, that's the justification. I wanted to see USA put out the best lineup they possibly could and not base it off of the way people felt about each other.
I don't know, man. I feel like the best lineup included a person that wasn't hated by the community.
People were rooting
Correct,
for, I'm getting
correct.
to be
I
honest.
was not hated by the community, and then I wasn't there. So,
All right.
but yeah, that was the start of my retirement there. So,
Perfect. You
Yeah, so
killed Dial.
that's why Dial's on my list. Tony's on my list for what he said on Cleveland.
That was taken
Whenever
out of
whenever
context, which I've tried to explain
whenever
countless times.
we're winning in the playoffs. We're winning big in the playoffs. And I had not played enough games in the regular season to be put on the cup. And so Crab asked, "Hey, is Goose here?" And my mic is muted, but I don't realize this because my mic at the time had a mute switch. Like I would just do it whenever the games are going on. And so I respond, "Yeah, but my mic is muted." And so Tony says, "I hope not." And so I keep my mic muted. I don't say anything. And then Tony's just like, "We can put him on the cup anyway. We're BOC. He doesn't need to play."
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I was sad and
here
depressed. And then
here is the
I was
thing,
like,
and I wish
Tony
Goose had
sucks.
talked to me about it
Tony
because I love
sucks.
Goose. And my reasoning for that is I have always hated the fact that when teams are up in a playoff game, especially if they're closing out a series or anything, if there's a blowout in a playoff game, they throw all their backups on the ice just to put them on the cup. Just I hate that in general, and I hate throwing guys on the ice. I don't want to get off the ice. Like I want to finish this game out because I'm probably the one who has to get off. By the way, especially in this scenario. And I'm not saying I hope not because I don't believe in Goose. It's I hope not because I hate that whole mentality of let's get all the backups on the ice. And like I said, I can get them on the cup anyway. What's the difference between 10 seconds of ice time and me just putting them on there?
That's why Tony's on my list. It's for just the rudeness and the meanness about it.
Now, if you're gonna
Maybe
be mad at me for being rude and mean, you can be mad at me for that
I
RSL.
mean, like
bitching
Manitoba
at my
happened,
team.
but at that time I was like, Tony's not good anyway, so I don't
Yeah,
care. He's
that's
yelling.
kind of why I was mad because I thought I was better than I was.
And so that's why Tony's on my list. Taze on my list for the bacon screw job. And because I always felt like he never fully played to his level that season while he was on my team, because like after I traded him away, he started doing really well. I mean, sometimes teams don't mesh, so I can't really blame him for that. But
How come
it's for
you
that.
got me and then Taze in season 19? We're both on the shit list. I guess the shit list doesn't really.
I did not have say in any of the people on my team on season 19.
Yeah, that is fair.
I can talk about that here in a second. But he's also on my list because in HQML, we had one season. I don't remember what season it was, but I believe our team name was Too Buff to Lose. And we were in the finals against We Clean Now, which is like Gabe's team.
Gabe's team, yeah,
And
improper.
I hated that team
Yep.
because
I can imagine.
they are for me it felt like a really racist team because they were using Mexican names for We Clean Now. And then they would always just be like, you know, and I understand Gabe saying like, "Oh, it's it's the cleaning lady from Family Guy." I'm like, "Yeah," and she's still freaking racist to me. And so he would say things like, "Oh, I clean now. I clean," doing his Mexican accent. And so we're in the finals against them, and then my team just starts like trolling, like they're not really trying that hard. So it was like me, I think T, Otto, and Taze. I can't remember 100%. And I really wanted to beat those guys, but those guys just didn't take it seriously. If I remember
And Taze
correctly,
gets the blame of all of them.
if I remember correctly, Taze probably took it the most serious out of the other ones. But for me, it was just a terrible experience, and I hated that because I really wanted to just dominate those guys. I hated it.
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
And so that's why I still play games. Like Taze is still my friend. I still talk to him. I like him, but at the same time, he's on my list.
Yeah.
Once you're on the list, you don't get marked off.
You can't change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. what are we gonna do? I say we because
Goose,
me and
the
Kyle are
irony
on the
of
list.
me being on your list is that when I came back from retirement for season 4, we were drafted to be starters together on the same team.
Yeah.
That is
which
Yeah.
didn't go well. That started the streak of Goose and I playing together equaling a loss. And that
Every time.
carried through all the way until season 18 where we finally broke that.
I think our combined record was probably like 3 wins and like 90 losses
Yeah,
or something.
every single time we could not play together, it was a loss.
It would not work out. But season
Oh.
19 happened, and you know what? We got it.
Yep,
We
we
got
did it. We did it.
Yeah. Well, season 19, good cup win. Back into the questioning, but not that that wasn't all good stuff we got there. But what was your favorite team you've ever been a part of? Instead of all these horrible teams that you hated.
Season. Ooh, this is actually a tough one. Because I really liked season 2 Boston.
Before you got
But
traded.
before I got traded, yeah. I remember like the game before I got traded. We had like this group meeting on the ice, all of our guys together. I pretended to give like a speech, and then like we had like a really good time. We won, and then I got traded like immediately afterwards. Anyway, they were really sad about that. It's got to be season 18 Dallas for me
Hell yeah.
because that was the first time I actually felt like I was part of a winning team, and I was able to contribute. I was able to help out, and I was able to finally showcase my ability to pass the puck from a goalie position, which is why
Yeah, we noticed
I,
that, especially playing. You're really good at passing from that. I
I
love how you pass.
personally think that I'm the best goalie because of that. I give our teams offensive chances. Like I'm
Extra
able to help them.
breakouts.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm able to help the breakout start. Um, which is how come I've felt like since then, since season 18, that I'm the best goalie to ever play this game. I understand other goalies are probably better at saving, but for me, I'm adding goals to the board, man. I'm putting it on them.
That was
So
Kiwi's biggest strength on Calgary.
so was
Well,
season
besides
18
the
your
saves.
favorite team because we won, or like had we not won, would that still be your favorite, or would season 2 Boston overtake it?
If we hadn't won,
If Tony Flo lifts that puck,
you know what? Forget season 2 Boston. Let's go season 5 Bacon. Let's go with the Bacon Americans. I
Okay.
think I'd like Bacon Americans over season 2 Boston. But if we hadn't won
Post trades?
post trades,
Yeah.
obviously, yes.
Yeah. Getting rid of Tays. Yep.
I think it's where I got after the trades. I think I got like 4 out of my 6 wins during that. Which, by the way, I've always argued this on the GM list. I should be credited for season 2 Washington as much as T is because I was the GM for 3/4 of that season, and he was only the GM for 1/4, really.
No.
So
No, we're not getting back into that argument again 6 years later, Goose.
I still
Oh
believe
my god.
he GM'd for like a week and a half, and
They
then
they
I
used
took
to
over
just
GM.
keep switching around GM. Like every game they'd say that it
No,
was a different GM. It was
you know why?
ridiculous.
You want to know why, Tony?
yeah.
So T was the original GM, and then we lost to Toronto, I believe, which was the worst team in the league. And so T said, "I'm stepping down as GM," and so I was given GM, and I take over the team, and we weren't really actually doing that good at the very beginning of the season, and I turned that team around, and then we lost to Toronto a second time after a few weeks, and I said, "I'm stepping down." And we were going to get Otto to do it, but then he didn't want to do it. And so at the end, we decided that we'll split GM. We'll be 50-50, with me being the general and T being the manager. And
I noticed it says M and G next to your names on the stats last time I was
I've
looking
always
down
like
there.
I was GM for more of that season than T was. I'll say it. I'll say it. If anything, that season should just be counted for me over T.
That can be
Well, thoughts?
a debate for the ages, but no.
Moral of the story: even if we lost season 18, I probably would still pick that as my favorite team.
Okay.
I,
Fair
I
enough.
actually helped.
I'm
Not
glad I
19?
could be on your list and still on your favorite team.
Yeah.
19 was too easy of a season. Like in season
Playoffs.
in the playoffs. In season 18, like we're winning the game, that last game, game 7, and we're
Yeah,
constantly
we had
saying
to fight for it.
like there's no lead too big. Like they could still come back. They could still come back. It's like
It's funny.
30.
I didn't believe that on the other side of that. We were down 4-0 at the end of the first, and I was like, "Well, this is over." And Job
Yeah,
has given his rousing speech in the intermission. I'm like, "Oh, it's over."
yeah. We were saying
We've-
like they could still make the count. We scored 4 goals. They could score 4 goals. Like
Yeah.
we kept saying that. And in season 19, like we take a 2-goal lead in like the 4th game, and we're just like, "No, we won this. Like we've already won. There's no coming back. They're terrible." We did. We won.
yeah, handily.
And so like, I mean, season 19 was fun as far as just winning in the playoffs. In the regular season, we weren't that good. Like in the first like 3
Yeah,
weeks,
when I was on it,
we won 1 game. Like, and then in the playoffs, though, we were good, and it was too easy. It's just too easy. We probably would have went undefeated in the playoffs if we didn't have that game where Taze was gone, and so like we had to have Germs on defense. We still went 1-1. Probably could have went 2-0 if Taze was there, but yeah, season 18, top season of all time.
Okay. So what would be your ideal 5v5 dream team then? If you could have anybody you wanted from any point in time you wanted, with
Here's the
ideally
question.
yourself on there somewhere.
Can you have more? Can you have the same person more than
No,
once?
no, it has to be like
Can I
individual
do 2
people.
so I have one like that where I have
Sure,
the
sure.
same? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. If
these
it's
4 crabs.
if it's 5v5, I think Matt and Otto on offense, Crab and Germs on defense, me and Net. I think is probably my dream team because
Okay.
that team's going to score enough where even if we're a little bit weaker defensively, we're still really good. If I can pick out from different parts of the season, then I would say me from season 5 on offense, Crab on Cleveland on offense,
Okay.
me on season was it 6? Yeah, me on season 6 on defense, Crab on season 18 on defense, and then me season 18 in net.
Okay.
I think that team is arguably the most unbeatable team.
All right.
That's great.
What was your opinion on the HQML?
I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's definitely the more fun league.
'Cause
Um,
I
the
asked because a lot of
competition,
people had mixed opinions about it, right? Like by the time it got to kind of the end, a lot of people really didn't take it seriously or didn't care or thought it was stupid. So I figure you'd be one of the people who actually would have a greater appreciation for it.
it was supposed to start out as a competitive league. Like it was our first North American league, but as the LHL grew, the HQML shrunk, and then people just it was a more fun league because you always got to play with your friends. So I always liked it. I always liked putting together a team or being on a team. Like who was on? It was me, you, and some other people that were on Left 4 Dead,
Yep.
Left 4 Dead 2.
Yep.
I still have that as my Reddit icon or my Reddit flare.
I got the
That
Susan
fucking
Loose
Reddit
logo
flare is
somewhere.
so bad.
I loved that icon. Just like I pulled up the Left 4 Dead 2 cover and I did the best I could with what I had.
Yep.
I loved that team. Too buff to lose every iteration. 2 Chains verse on Talk Dirty to me. That was
Yep.
a good team. Just so like
What about
it's
Kill
fun.
Squad, dude? You didn't even
Kill
mention
Kill
Kill
Squad.
Squad.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about Kill Squad. Just it's the most overpowered team of all time. We only lost because we got cheated. The other
Yep.
team had Matt,
Yep.
and they were a bunch of
They were
cheaters.
aliasing and cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have me and Otto on offense. Who was our D man? Taze. Yeah, Taze.
Taze and
Taze
wasn't
and
Tim?
Tim.
And we
Yeah.
had 3 or like 2 lines that we would roll
Yeah.
out. It would be me,
You and
Taze, and Not Led or
no Big V.
Big V, right? Me, Taze, and Big V, and then you, Otto, and Tim, and we would like swap in and out those two lines. It was disgusting.
Oh my
And
god, it was.
Lucic was supposed to be on the team, but he bailed.
Oh,
That's why we brought in Big V, because Lucic was supposed to be my offense partner.
That's funny.
and it was perfect, man. Like we talked a lot of trash and we backed it up.
We had
You know,
two
the
rats too.
Autobots roll out.
Yeah,
Just the disrespect that we send other teams, just letting them know that we are the best. We are here. What was it? Coming at your life 2020 or
yep, yep.
20 whatever
Hashtag
it was.
Kale
Yeah, hashtag
2014.
kill. Yeah.
Yep,
Oh, that was the best team
it was
ever,
so good. Yeah,
especially considering how toxic we were.
we were so bad. I'll never forget the G in is allowed, right? That moment
Yeah,
was so fucking good.
just your taste say no
That
while
for
you're running
reference,
into Mr. U.
yeah, for reference, we were playing against one of the other teams that really hated us, which was pretty much all of them. And we were just battering them like we did with most teams because we had like almost all of the really good players at the time on one roster. And we were just fucking around. So at one point, somebody else had the puck. It was like Big V or somebody who was like skating in on a breakaway, and I just go like in voice chat, "Hey, Giant is allowed, right?" And just ran Mr. U straight out of the net with my body so that we could score. We were already up by like 6 goals or something at the
Yeah.
time, so it was just incredibly BM. But it was so funny. They got
Yeah.
so bad about it too afterwards. They were like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
God, what a
It's
bastard.
Taze just being like, no, and then we score right afterwards anyway. Oh, it was so good.
I remember having Lucic on an HTML team, and we beat a team of new guys by like 36.
Yeah,
Like we just ran up the score, and it was like the most ridiculous. It was like Lucic around Cleveland, Boston.
yeah.
Probably around then. Like he was good.
We we
He was
were
really good.
we weren't running up the score on people like 36 nothing, but we would BM the ever living
Yeah.
fuck out of every team. It was a lot of fun to be the villain
Oh
that
Oh
man,
season.
God,
Even if we
HTML was
didn't
so
win
bad.
and got cheated, which with how we behaved, we probably deserved to get cheated, but it was
I would hit the goalie as much as I could while we
oh, it was
didn't have the
so
puck,
much
just to
fun.
let them know,
Yep, yep.
and then just leave the game
Oh,
before the game ends. That way,
Uh,
if they want to score,
that's a
they
good
can
one.
score.
we'd run D in and shit all the time too. Like, oh, it was so good. It was
I
so
called
funny.
that out too late on Friday. I think one of those games we played. It might have been against you guys on Philly, but I called out too late. I was like, everybody leave the ice, and like only one guy hopped off. Like there was like a second left. We scored, and it was like up by 4 or whatever. And I wanted everybody to hop off.
Yeah,
Just called it too late to the face off. So you
it,
see like one guy hop off.
it's definitely fun to be the villain sometimes. And it honestly, that season of HQML was like probably the most interesting, just because. In all honesty, we got people a lot more emotionally invested in it because they hated us so much.
You said you had DMB in your team, right?
No,
No,
no, we
Oh,
didn't.
you didn't.
No,
I thought you said he was on the Goose line. That would have made a lot
no,
more sense.
no. It was Tim Barrett and Otto and Goose, and
Oh
then me,
God,
Big V, and
still,
Taze.
that's so funny.
Oh, it was
Who's your
so
goalie?
good. We had T-Lors and Sammy, I think. Right?
yeah,
Didn't
but
we
I
have
think it was
both of
just
them?
well, I think it was just mostly T though. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
Sammy was just a backup.
yeah.
We get
Which,
Sammy sometime.
Sammy was a very good goalie at the time, so having him as a backup's not a,
Yeah.
not a bad thing by any means, but
What
it
a
was
good
just
team.
great. It was
What
great knowing that we'd have two lines that could beat most teams too. Like it didn't matter who we put out there, so uh anyway, I wanted to get that out there so we could reminisce about all that because there's a lot of fun HQML times, so
Oh man, I know Otto would have been mad if I didn't mention Kill Squad at all. Just,
yeah, dude.
he
It's
loved
Kill
it.
Squad. We're lurking on
Kill Squad
DTMB
Auto wanted you to mention Kill
Shooting
Squad.
goals and taking names.
any day of the week, dude. Hell yeah. Uh, I gotta go listen to both those raps as
Where's
soon as we're
KS
done with
Satan?
this.
Where was he?
That
That was
was
on the
one of
team.
my real life friends.
Yeah, I know. Was he on the team?
No, no. He only did that to try to fuck with us, but that was right around the same time. He would get on and intentionally try to like he would get on in pubs and just go around trying to body me the whole time. It was funny.
That's funny.
But
Yeah.
anyway, okay, getting back to it. We only got two questions left here, so What, if anything, would you change about the game itself or the community as a whole? Like this could be rule changes about the game, like wanting 6v6, wanting, puck body collision, or things with the community, like wanting people to leave, wanting us to recruit, stuff like that. Like what changes would you like to see made personally?
Or have like to see made if you don't want anything right now.
Yeah.
To the game itself, for me, the game is almost perfect. Where it's just it looks like garbage, plays like garbage, but
There's no sound.
I prefer
Sounds like
that.
garbage.
Yeah.
I prefer that since I could just have my music up. But
Yeah.
I always swear there was one game where I heard like a ping after the puck hit the crossbar, and like
Pings.
everybody in the server put a question mark because they said, "What was that?" But that was like super early on, and it was only like 4 of us in the server. And at the same time, I might have been on drugs, so maybe not. But I think the game itself, it'd be hard for me to change it. I wish the graphics were better as far as just how it
Yeah.
looked, so it's a little bit more presentable to people. Um,
Yeah.
about the community, I mean, people just need to stop being dicks. Like, just stop being,
Racist.
yeah, like let all the racist stuff go. I don't understand that. I think people, when we're in a server with more than 10 people, people need to learn to start, just not holding 1 and 2 if you've already played all the games in a row.
Yeah, we really need
I
ranked pubs might be
personally
a solution, but there really needs to be an honor system in
I
pubs
personally
here.
only do one game at a time. I always take every other game off
Yeah.
because I know what it's like if you're number 14 on the list. So I think the community, as far as that, like just start being better. I don't understand how hard it is to be like better than what we are. Just stop being garbage.
So
Yeah, being better than us isn't hard.
in my opinion, I always thought a lot of it was because the average age of most players in the community was always really young. Like we had a lot of people for a long time that were like 15,
I can't
15,
believe how
16
young
years
some. I
old.
Yeah,
won't name names
It,
here, but I found out the age of some of these guys who've been
yeah,
around longer than me, and it blows my mind.
it's amazing how young a lot of players were, especially back in like 2014, 2015. Like the majority of players were probably between the ages of like 15 and 17, somewhere in there. Uh, th- it was
and
rare
here it
that you'd
is.
find players like Goose. And so, it kind of made sense back then because there's so many people that are like obviously going to be immature. But now,
Yeah.
we're 7 years later than that. So even the people that were 14 at the time are now 21 and are old enough to not be going around throwing around the N word or saying other racist shit all over the place or just being an asshole in general. And yet it seems like we've never grown out of that,
I was talking
unfortunately.
to Crab and Paco yesterday, and Paco was just like, I don't think you can use like the heat is too young excuse anymore because it's been several years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Oh yeah,
like
I didn't. I wasn't there, but I heard about that
like
heat stuff.
just stop sucking. Like if we, God, I'm hoping. I have my fingers crossed. We go at least another 20 seasons. I want season 40 LHL. All right, I just want to throw that out there.
Hey,
Um,
yeah.
so I'm
We'll all
hoping.
be in our 30s, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I might be a little bit older than that.
Oh well, you might be pushing. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, you're. Oh, I forgot.
And so I'm hoping that the season that's coming up can at least do okay, and the tournaments we're doing, they're fun, and
Yeah, I'm having fun. I'm worried that we're about to wreck it.
I'm hoping that at some point we could do some kind of recruitment thing, but it'd be hard to do
Yeah.
because of how just terrible people we all are for the most part. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Having heteroni around joining servers with the
yes,
N word constantly is going to be a huge problem.
yeah. And so I was hoping that whenever HQM was I wouldn't say dead, I want to say in a coma because it's not dead. I was hoping that while HQM was in the coma, that some of those players would have left the community and just been like, all right, well, I'm going to go start trolling another game.
Well, in the case of
And just,
heteroni, he did, but
He
he's
found his
just
way
back
back.
now.
God,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
don't want him here. I don't want him here.
I know.
Yeah. Nobody does.
Like,
Uh, Payne told me to go to buy. I still haven't gone to him yet, but you know how you need an entirely different version of the game to, you know, um, if like 6-1, you need to be in 6-1 to join. and when Cryptic made 5.6, it needs to be a 5.6 server. It would be very doable to create a version of this game that needs its own server to run, that has nothing else, like nothing changed about it, but it just needs its own version. And you could, at least for league games, limit who gets in for that. Like you play the league games on the certain version of the game. And that would it would be tough for recruitment, though. You can't just let anybody in. You got to recruit them
Well,
publicly,
yeah,
and then once you know who they are, bring them in.
yeah, and that would be kind of the
Otherwise, you have to sign up for the game or whatever. You'd have to do something dumb.
yeah, and you're still relying on if you're handing out a specific version of the game to certain people, you're still relying on people not giving that
Circulating it.
away to somebody. Uh, because all it takes is one person to be like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if we gave it to Heat?" And then it's
Yeah.
ruined.
Yep.
Then the whole point of it is ruined. And
Yep.
I wouldn't put it past even the people that we have in the league currently in Friday Night Hockey. I wouldn't put it
Yeah.
past them to do that.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's kind of the
Yeah, no.
concern with that.
Passworded server is the only way to go.
I think passworded server is the most likely because you can change that so quickly,
Yeah.
and you could password protect specific servers like when it's time for LHL, password protect one server with a specific password for each game, and only tell those two teams what the password is. Easy.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of making that work. But
Yeah, it'd be great. That's the only thing I'd want to see changed. To hijack Goose's question. The question intended for Goose.
Like, just stop being bums. I'm hoping we can start doing recruitments at some point, and I'm hoping to
Yeah.
help the new guys again. Like, I was a JSL GM during that season where we got like some new recruits, and I made videos for my guys like every other week or so, telling them this is what y'all are doing wrong. This is how you change it, and this is how you do it. Like, let me show you how to do it. So I would be on the ice as well, and so the video would be me playing a part of the
feel like I
game,
remember seeing that.
saying like, "Hey, do this, do that." There was one of them, he didn't know how to set position, and so I told him, I was like, I could see in the
oh my
game that you're
God.
not actually setting position, like you're just typing set position.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what you need to do. So I showed it in the video. It's like, do this, and then like that guy messaged me back. He's just like, thank you, because nobody would tell me like what to do on how to do that. Like I didn't realize that was a thing. And so, I mean, I'm a fan of that. I like helping whenever I can. I'm always available for the most part. And so,
Yeah,
I mean, it
I
still
like playing with
sucks
new
because
guys.
like my guys still didn't last. Like they still, if you don't have the drive for this game, you don't have the
Yeah.
drive for this game.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that none of those guys really stayed except for like Rat Aids, really.
Oh, goody.
We go back and reevaluate who you help out.
You might have had to teach him something else.
Yeah.
What
I think-
not to do.
Honestly, I think most of his videos were me going in and just being like, "Hey, man, you're doing really well. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like you're the best player on our team by far."
Just
Okay,
ease
so-
back on some of the stuff you're saying.
So last question here for you. We can tell that you're looking forward to season 20, which is great. We all are. We do need more
Woo!
signups. Last I checked, we're at 49 or 48,
9.
depending on whether or not you want to count guys sign up. Which,
Whether or not we do Sunday.
yeah. So
Which would be better
right
for
now,
you.
I would say err on the side of 48, which we've reached the absolute bare minimum to have a season. That doesn't mean it'll be a good season, or that we really have
Yeah.
enough talent for it yet. So we definitely need more.
Oh, well, also BG hasn't signed up, so there's one who said Tony signed
Sorry,
up for me.
I said talent. So
Oh,
yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a common mistake. Anyway, so I can tell you're looking forward to season 20. Are there any is there anything you're hoping we're gonna do differently for season 20 that we didn't do?
For me, season 20.
Or do you want us to see or you want us to see us get back to what we used to do? Same
Do
thing.
you want to see it like I do, 4v4 with pick trading and player protection?
Here for season 20, I think as long as we can finish the season without a bunch of forfeits, I feel like that would be a successful season.
Yeah.
You're setting the bar really high here, Goose. This is good.
I'm a little concerned with the 2 games. It's harder to reschedule the 2 games a night.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
So I think as long as we can finish season 20 and then kind of get a feel of how everybody did in it, just like,
Yeah.
like it was terrible, I hate it, I'm never playing this game again, or people would just be like, you know what? Turns out I really love Hockey Question Mark. It's been a while. and
Turns out I'm still addicted to it.
I love the competitiveness about it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for something like that. I'm hoping at some point we can do like $1,000,000. If I ever became a billionaire, I would set up $1 million HQM tournament to get more people.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you'd
too.
phase us right out. All the good players would come out of the woodwork.
Well,
But
look,
think
it
how
would
much
it would
fun
take
that
a
would
few
be.
months though. It would
Exactly.
take a few months for us to get phased out. We'd be
Yeah,
really
we could
cool
get the
for a
$1
while,
million.
and
We would
then
be there for the first tournament.
yeah, and then we'd
We'd
all
be
have to
doing
become
season
the
21, and it would only be allowed. You'd only be allowed to play if you used to play.
we'd all have to become the content creators and
Yeah.
like fucking coaches and GMs and stuff at that
Goose
point.
would have to buy us all tracksuits.
If I ever became a billionaire, I'm telling you, man, I would. This is what I think I would do. I think I would set it up, be like, hey, there's $1 million tournament that's going to happen. Let's go with a year. Let's say you have 1 year to train for this. It's $1 million prize pool. Get your team together. So let's do it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
And I'm curious to see what would happen for that.
that would be so much fun.
One day, man, whenever I become that billionaire.
Custom teams or NHL teams? Which were you a fan of?
I was a fan of both. I like the custom teams. I thought that's pretty fun.
Finally, somebody liked them.
I thought it was. I still have. Well, I still have my 2 shirts, but none of them were the custom team ones. I still wear them.
No.
Like I have my big LHL gray shirt.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got an
I
LHL
have,
gray shirt with just
I have a
little
black
logo.
one with like the red LHL logo on it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And yeah, I still love those shirts. I'll be honest. I wear
Yeah, I
them.
wear the gray one with a little. It's got like a little circle on the chest and the corner, the small one. I love that shirt.
I loved it all, man.
Yeah, it's good to hear that. Usually, I get messages a lot of the time, especially when I talk about season 20. When it became like a reality, I would get messages of like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna do the custom teams, right?" It's like, what is your problem with how the stats page looks?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be an NHL team?
I was fine
You
with it.
know?
I'm glad. I was also happy thinking about it. I was also happy that Washington won the first LHL
I
season.
was just talking to Dial about
They
that.
won season 20. They ended, or season
Yeah, at
19.
the end.
They ended
Well,
it out.
Washington won the first 2.
Oh yeah.
You think
Yeah.
they can win the last 2?
I'll see. We'll see if they win the last 2 in the year 2040, whenever all those $1 million tournaments starting to dry up.
Whenever your $1 billion runs out.
That's what I would spend all my $1 billion on.
So
Like
Yeah.
I'm just living in Germs' shadow, like in his closet. Just
Yeah.
here's $1 million.
Imagine how bad Germs would be if you blew $1 billion on hockey question mark tournaments.
God.
You start paying the players.
All right. So that's all the questions we have for you then, Goose. Any final words, comments, concerns, frustrations?
I just want to say I've
Your
always thought of myself as the greatest hockey question mark player of all time.
Us too.
I think I've had one of the craziest careers
Absolutely.
since I go from offense to defense to goalie, LHL,
Jumping
RSL,
around leagues.
winning
Yeah.
everything that I play in. I
All he does is win.
here recently, I think in this tournament, I went winless, which is very sad.
Well, this like the 4 games you played.
Yeah, and I went 0-4. I allowed
You were on
something
the winning like the 1 seed last month.
yeah. Well, this time I think
Crab and Juice just
I
kept
think I
winning.
allowed something like 28 goals and only got like 4 saves. So
That I don't know.
It's
Some
not
of
a good
those
look.
Toronto teams you got.
not a good look.
It's fine.
It's
So
fun.
you're hoping your draft stock is. You're hoping you're going to go around 30th.
I think HQM is one of the most fun games I think I've ever played. It's definitely brought me more friends than any other game. Like
Yeah.
there's so many people I talk to basically on a daily basis.
Friends and others like me.
Yeah, and people that are on my list.
Is that you still
ever-growing
talk to
list.
all the time.
It's an ever-growing list. That's about.
I got a question. Wasn't
yeah.
on the list.
ahead.
When's Stardew When's Stardew Valley getting back up?
When
When we
is-
opening the farm?
Who was it? Nina? I think
Nina.
we're waiting on Nina, right?
I don't know. I asked him yesterday if he was getting on, and he went away and never came back. And that includes right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have weekends. I've been taking weekends off. I've been getting a little bit lazy.
You have to start taking Tuesdays off, Goose.
I've just been taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just
Start taking
Hey.
Friday, Tuesday, Friday off.
government shutdown could be happening.
If it doesn't, start taking Tuesdays off until Christmas.
I don't see it happening. If anything, my job might end before Christmas. So,
Oh,
I could
well,
be-
that's same with the new season. You can't screw the 4-Pete, Goose.
it's not
If
up
you
to
and
me.
4, I'm pulling the shoot unless I'm on the team.
It's not up to me.
Yeah, you want a GM?
I
Live
wish
here?
I could. I wish I could. If I could, I would.
You can GM. You don't need to show up to GM.
As somebody that's been a GM, you know what? Also, I do want to say to all future GMs, if you've never GM'd before, don't listen to your first round pick if they tell you who to take in the second round. Eric,
What is the implication here, Goose?
The two times it's happened to me, it's been wrong. Where, like, the first time Taze tells me take pizza, but I want crab. It doesn't work. The team just does not work. The talent's there, team doesn't work. Season 19, Otto wants Tony. I want Austin because I already had in my draft plan. I'm going to put Otto and Kiwi on forward because I've seen how they play in Pub Stars, and I know that those two together can just wreck shop. And as long as I have a D man like Austin, who I've played with on Kansas City, that I know I really like the way he played D. Like I understand that Marchie scored goals on that team, but for me, Austin was the better D man on that team.
Ooh.
And so I had that whole strategy lined up. And then, you know what? I said, all right, Otto, I'll listen to you. I'll draft Tony. And what happens? The team just doesn't mesh. We can't get it together because I don't like how Kiwi plays defense. You and Otto weren't putting up 10 points a game like I needed y'all to. And so then I had Kiwi.
Well, Otto might not have been. I think that was my best points per game season.
So Kiwi was just like, hey, let's make the trade for Taze. I was like, okay, we'll start talking to KP. So Kiwi talks to KP up and down. He is just giving him the business. And then finally, Kiwi's just like,
drunk
all right.
off his ass.
No, that was not the drunk one. I'll get to the drunk one here in a minute. But Kiwi tells me, he's like, all right, I think KP will do it. Like, you just have to close it. And so I actually closed that trade on my lunch break at work at Walmart at the
Full
time.
circle.
I messaged KP. I was like, hey, let's do this trade. It can help both teams. Taze isn't a fan of your team. Like, he's not having fun. Bring him over here. I'll give you Tony. I'll give you Quoof. You'll be fine. And so he's like, fine, let's do that trade. And then later on in the season,
It was like the next day, probably.
You have drunk KP, and we're trying to talk him to trading Tony back just for Rat. Tony for Rat 8 straight up. Because I think Tony was like missing a couple of games or something.
I was missing some games, and I requested a trade.
Yeah, it's
immediately because I didn't want to play with Gabe.
We were going with it for the longest time, and then like Cap was in our server too, and he's just like, "Don't do this trade. Like, we're just gonna veto it anyway. Like, it doesn't make sense to do it. We're not gonna allow this trade to go through." And I was like, "Cap, shut up. Get out of here. Like, you're not part of this trade. Stop talking." And so KP is just like, I don't know, guys. I think I'm just going to go to sleep. I'm a little drunk. And I was just like, God dang it, Cap. And so we didn't get that trade off.
And then Cap weaseled it.
Yeah. He took advantage of a drunk KP.
He told you, don't do this, and then he did it.
God,
God.
That
was like at the friggin' dead. That was like at 11:58.
The problem was, if we traded for you again, Tony, you would have to play defense because I had Otto and Kiwi, a proven
at that point. I
duo.
Definitely didn't want. I just didn't want to be on. I played D for Boston. I just didn't want to play with Gabe.
Because I remember you told me that you didn't want to play defense if Kiwi was forward because you felt like you were the better forward. I was like, yeah. I understand. So I had to get rid of you, man. I had to.
Hey, you made the right choice. I'm not even like. It's not even like the. Oh, I got traded off the cup team. That team wasn't winning shit with me on it.
We got like our second win the third week. We're complete garbage.
Hey, we had a good win against Juice's team where he scored 5 goals and we won 7-6. That's one of my. I don't remember it. I don't remember much of season 19. And Juice has shown me this game, and I was like, "Look, I'm skating around out there." And I was like, "That's nuts!" I was like, "I don't remember this at all." And a puck is physicking, and I corral it with the tip of my stick and settle it for a breakaway and score, and like we win this game by 1. It was so stupid. That season was horrible.
Hmm.
Oh, hey, well, I know we're at the end. We're already past it. I just actually thought of a question. Goose, that season, you went from leading the league in save percentage with 67, right? And you were really close to leading again. You were second by like a fraction of a percent, but like down in 59. Like, what happened with goaltending that season from a goalie's perspective?
For me, my defense wasn't very good. Our defense
It,
wasn't very
it
good.
seems like that all around, but like even you get Taze, Bert had Taze,
But
like everybody
the
in the
problem
whole
was
league.
the problem was when we traded for Taze, that was the point where he had to start missing Tuesdays. He like missed every Tuesday from that point on. And so after the trade, we were weaker as far as like backups go. So now our defense consisted of like Rades and Germs or me and Germs. And so our defense wasn't exactly that great. Plus, I started this honestly, I wish I had the game by game stats for this, but I started the season. I think after the first 2 or 3 weeks, my save percentage was like low 40s. And so, honestly, the second half of that season, my save percentage was probably about 69, 70%
You had to
because
bring it back up.
I had to bring that back up. It was complete
Yeah.
trash.
Well, it's still like you're still at the top of the league. I'm just wondering, like every goalie was like that is the worst statistical season goalies ever had.
I,
It's probably the highest scoring season all around. Like everybody had
I definitely
crazy
felt like
scorers.
defenses were a little bit
Yeah,
worse.
we were kind of looking at the rosters today for the face-off we did, which is already out. The face-offs we did that are already out, and it really looked like the defense was bad.
Yeah. I mean,
Even on the good
that's
teams.
just personally how I felt about it. Is that
Yeah,
I just didn't have the defense in front of me to do it.
that's
Like
fair. I wanted the goalie's perspective on it.
specific,
That seems very reasonable, especially like looking at just
like
the rosters.
even at the beginning of the season, whenever we had Kiwi on defense, like I didn't like Kiwi on defense. I just don't like the way he plays defense, and so him and
I think it
Quoof
was him
were
and Quoof
yeah, it was
too.
him and Quoof, and they didn't play well together from my perspective, So I thought it was I blame the defense for all the goals I let in. There's a couple of bad ones, I will say. There were some bad goals I
But
let
the
in
defense could have had it. They could have had those too.
because I always play better the longer the season goes on. So like I always start slow. I even told my team that it's like I'm going to start the season slow, but towards the end,
I
that's
don't
when
remember
I'll start
that,
picking it up.
but whatever.
I remember that, and Kiwi kept saying, "When are you going to start picking it up?" God dang it! Shut up, Kiwi.
Yeah, that's
All right.
fun
So
season.
let's call it here. Great interview, Goose. Thank you for coming on with us. I'm sorry I never got to you back in the day originally, however many years ago now.
Yeah.
But it's good to have you on now, even though I'm on your list.
Welcome to the list.
It's
Well,
it was
I've
nice to
been on
be
it for
here.
a while.
Oh
It's
yeah, I guess
nothing
I'm the
new.
newest
Yeah,
addition to
yeah.
it.
You're the most recent
But he just
list
talks
addee.
about me being on it a lot.
Yeah.
To me.
I'm still the crazy part is I'm still going to listen to this at work because I
Oh
don't remember
God.
anything I said for the first half, so
Yeah.
I can't wait.
That's
Oh,
right.
it's gonna be
We're
long.
the other stuff we're releasing this week is about 3.5 hours worth of stuff. We broke it up into 2 episodes, but I think we're gonna release them both together
He didn't
because
think we
it's
had an hour's worth. I don't know if we can even fill an hour with this, and we did
yeah,
3.5 hours today.
yeah,
Can't wait.
yeah.
I should have just been one long episode.
Yeah, you should have just got right
Well,
on.
probably. I mean, we've
I
done now
was
5.5 hours of the face-off today recording, so this has been a lot. But yeah, so this goose should go out probably on Monday.
This
So
goose should go out.
this goose should go out on Monday. So you can look forward to that coming up soon. So
okay. Can I just say one last thing?
yeah, of
I just
course.
want to say hi to Stu Walton.
He's not gonna listen to
just
this.
in case he listened to this.
He isn't.
And a shout out to the morning squad that happened back in the day. So hi, Stu.
They're also not listening. I don't know who
Hi,
that is.
John.
They're not listening.
Hi, John.
John, English guy?
No, that's just John.
Damn.
All right. So with that, hope everybody has a great night, and we will see you all later this week.
Mm-hmm.